Hi, it's Sarah, and it's time for your March 2023 fantasy and dark fantasy and horror update for my books. I'm Sarah, Sara Marks, but I like to be called Sarah. And I have three things to let you know about. We're going to talk about audiobooks. I had to look at my list. We're going to talk about the Frozen Wasteland series and what's going on with it. And then I'll give you some life updates to let you know what's going on and some things about the newsletter, since many of the people who watch this video find it through my newsletter. Let's start with audiobooks. I'm really excited to let you know that Gona Hawking, who did the Bribery audiobook, will be doing the Help Wanted New Devil audiobook. She and I are working out the details of like when deadlines are, what kind of voice to expect. She's reading the book right now so she can get an idea of how she'd want to perform each of the characters. This is going to be the audiobook that's for sale. There's a very good chance I'm going to create an AI version of the audiobook just for YouTube so that you can read it or visualize something on the YouTube channel to listen to. But because it's going to be the AI voices, it's not going to be as wonderful as having somebody perform it. Briefly, to talk about why I'm doing the audiobooks. And if you read this week's newsletter, you've probably read the story. This weekend, a family friend passed away. And he was one of the reasons the audiobooks were so critical for me. He was visually impaired. There are a number of visually impaired people in my life. And I firmly believe that a reader should be able to read no matter what the format. So I am not one of those writers or readers who believes that an audiobook is not a book. An audiobook is a book. It is the book. It is just vocalized rather than on a printed page. It often astounds me that people will often tell me I don't read, but I like audiobooks. You're reading. I don't care how you read. I don't care if it's a paperback book, an ebook, an audiobook. If you have something that helps you read with Braille, if I could figure out a way to do that inexpensively, I would, of course, want to do that for people who want to use Braille for reading their books. So Peter's passing had me thinking a lot about what I want from audiobooks, and the expense of those audiobooks is worth it, but not always possible. And I'm very lucky that Gona was so very willing to do this within my budget, that it's given me a chance to have a performer do this before I expected. And thus the AI didn't seem so critical. But as I'm talking to other authors, I'm realizing that they are still doing AI voices and performed voices. For me, AI vocal narration is not an over-reliance on AI. I know a lot of people say that. I know a lot of people are frustrated, especially AI narrators, which is why when I can do vocal performers, that I will. But I'm not going to just put them up on YouTube and let people engage with that for free. If you want the performed audiobook, then you will be able to buy it. Some people don't like YouTube, but love audiobooks. So there will be a way to buy the audiobooks. There will be copies given away. I am not going through Audible this time. There's a lot of problems with Audible. I probably won't go through Findaway Voices because they are, from the conversations I'm hearing around audiobooks, using these big platforms, they're being, it's in our terms of service when we agree to these things. So I have to think about how much I want to agree to these things. These aren't negotiations that I can enter into and say yes to this and no to that. It's all a yes if I want to use their service. But audiobook narrators have realized that Findaway Voices and other companies seem to be providing access to their vocal narrations to platforms like Apple, who are developing AI voices. And I have concerns about that, as do these narrators, that these are it's like using your likeness and pictures and images. You can't use someone's likeness without their consent. Thus, you can't use someone's voice without their consent. But because it's in our terms of service and we don't realize it because we're so prone to just accepting, and it's don't turn around and say, but just read your terms of service. Have you read terms of service? They're loaded with legal jargon that makes it difficult to understand. And these are not negotiation points. These are you accept it or you walk away. So we have to balance that and fight when there's a good momentum to fight, in my opinion. So there will be some AI narrated vocal work. There will be Gona's performance. I'm really excited. I loved her performance in Bribery. And I'm very likely going to pay her to do an updated version of Bribery for the new chapter that got added. Which brings me to topic 2, the Frozen Wasteland. So here we are in March. Next month is April's Camp National Novel Writing Month. This is the less structured National Novel Writing Month program. The April and July ones are less structured. You set your own goal, not necessarily 50,000. They used to have it that I could commit to a number of minutes worked or chapters or however much I wanted to use to measure my output, and which was really good when I used this month to edit, because I'm not necessarily touching individual words the way I am when I'm writing a book, looking holistically at the book and evolving it. So my plan this April is to write the bulk of Harshug, because I've been having little bits here and there. I've been contemplating things like how much do we go back to Kralak and explore what's happening on Kralak. And if you read Kralak, you know, there's not a spoiler anymore, I think. But if you read Kralak, you know there's some sort of eldritch creature that they think is a planet, that thinks it is just alive, that feeds off of the sacrifices. Everybody has their own flavor based on their emotion. I'm going to have some fun with that, at least around some evolutionary stuff. But one of the things I've been doing this weekend here in my office is getting organized. We'll talk about why in a second, but I found these cards I used to do, and I don't know if you can read them, but it's the god of, and there was this sense of, you know, like the patron saint of something silly. So there's like gods of bands that play for tips and coffee shops, gods of jerks who sit alone at a table for large parties. Like they're not necessarily good. Many of them are a little snarky, but I found this whole set of them that I had written with some friends. And I think we might have some fun with that. Maybe contacting some artists, see if they would want to do some quick commissions to draw these gods or demons, because some are demons. But they'd be part of either the Enduring universe or just fun bonus content that we can play with. So the plan is to do this kind of work, the writing work around Harshug, and exploring in April, because the release of Harshug is not going to just be a book. Bribery and Kralak are probably my least popular books out of everything that I write, the multiple pen names, the multiple platforms and genres. Help Want a New Devil doing surprisingly well for a book that I'm not much promoting, because it's just the first in a series and it's not going to have a second book for a while. In fact, I haven't even written the second book yet. That's July's plan, and we'll get there later. So I'm thinking about doing exclusive early access on Patreon starting this fall, so that people who support the Patreon, you'll be getting all the Frozen Wasteland content moving forward. And then when there's a book ready to be published, it will be published. So we'll start with Harshug. Right now, this is probably a 5-book series, but after that, we'll move into other horror content. I'm not in a rush. This is going to take years. So there will be additional horror and dark fantasy content, and the group will decide if it wants to be part of the Enduring series also. So that might mean that that people walk away, but my plan has been to do a Frozen Wasteland book, then do the Enduring, do a Frozen Wasteland book, and then another Enduring book. And my hope is that will work for a few years, but it might not. Third update, life. I was just in Miami a week ago. In fact, a week ago, we were arriving to go see Wicked, a musical that I love, and don't care for the romance part of. And I was sitting there watching it and realizing that I would love a Hunger Games Wizard of Oz mashup. And could I write that? And do I want to write that? Do I have the energy to write that? Or should I just put that as like an idea for the future? Um, but the trip to Miami and doing more markets, doing my first market a few weeks ago here in Lowell, made me realize my energy is beginning to pick back up. I'm at the end of this month, it will have been 6 months since my surgery. And while I still struggle with my energy management, it is getting a lot better. And I was able to travel and participate and not spend the whole day sitting on my butt relaxing. I mean, it did mean I had to come back and recharge, and I had a sleepcation where I just rested, but it was good, which means there will be more events. My plan is to resume what I tried last year, which was doing at least one monthly event. This month, March, it will be in 2 weeks, the third weekend of the month, a Saturday in Lowell again. So if you're in Massachusetts or New England, New Hampshire, Vermont, and you want to come out to Lowell, please, I will be at the Pop Anime Con at Mill Number 5 in downtown Lowell. I'm going to be focused on the fantasy and the horror books and the dark fantasy. I will have many copies of Help Wanted, New Devil, the mugs, the stickers, the Patala brochure. I'm going to have all the fun stuff that you can buy to get into this universe. And if you do cosplay, that they're having a cosplay competition. So please come with your cosplay. I would love to see it. And if you're looking for a new character to cosplay, we can talk about some of the New Devil characters. Last, in life updates, I am updating the content I put out on the newsletter, trying to find things that are more interesting to the members of the newsletter. So if you are on the newsletter, or you are going to add yourself to the newsletter, or you are just interested in different content, you can tell me in the comments below what you're interested in, or in a response to the newsletter. So far, I do like a giveaways, things that are being given away kind of post, or books that I like that I think you might enjoy reading. I'll do that once a month. Then we'll do these video updates. Then I'll do audiobook content. And then that last week of the month, I've been doing coloring pages, and no one wants the coloring pages. And I get it. They're not really that dark. And I've been hunting for them. And I might try one of the plans for the Help Wanted New Devil Kickstarter that never came to fruition, was doing a coloring book PDF with quotes and lines and creatures from Help Wanted New Devil. And a lot of that content is something I made already. It's wording and some mandala stuff, but skulls and devil stuff. I thought it was fun. It was something I would do, and I might just put it together and make it a freebie for newsletter members. So what I'm interested in is the kind of content what do you want? Do you want to know more of what I'm reading? Do you want to know what I use for research? One idea I had was to share a monthly channel on YouTube that I use for research, especially given now that I'm looking at coaches and gurus, and a lot of that happens online, on Instagram and TikTok, and extraordinarily amounts of them on YouTube, because that's where they're putting their free content and then asking you to pay for access to more. And this weekend, I happened to be on a virtual conference with my coach, my writing coach, Becca Syme, who is fantastic. And I realized what's missing from these coaches, these fake gurus, the people who just offer free empty platitudes. And it's that they don't actually talk to you about setting goals and what it feels like to achieve those goals. They really just tell you to be positive and work harder. And I hate that so much. It already frustrates me to see those empty platitude posts plastered all over social media, because no one listens to them. You're not applying them to your life. These great little quotes or these great little sayings, they're just there to make you look like you care. And I hate that. but I hate even more the people who then turn around and try to make money off of them without offering anything else. So I get very critical of gurus. I tend to surround myself with people who get really critical of gurus. But do you want to see those gurus that I'm getting critical of? I'm not going to do reaction videos. I'm not going to do things like that. I'm going to post a few more right with me. There'll be a bunch of them in April, or at least after April, because I'm going to make sure I record everything that I'm working on. So that's it. I hope you're excited about the Help Wanted New Devil audiobook, that you're excited for Harshug and what's going to come in the fall. And I hope that you'll have some thoughts on what kind of content you want on newsletters. I'll talk to you next month, and watch for more videos that are right with me. I'm sure one will be suggested to you at the end of this video. Bye.